Now, for years now, we've heard how the private sector needs to do more for South Africa's economy. This is the Moneymakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield, and on this episode, we look at how South African companies have heeded this call. Joining me, Lee Naik, who is Managing Director of Technology and Digital Strategy at Accenture, South Africa, and Martin Humphries, founder of the Collaborative Stakeholder Movement. This was launched the other day with Chris Hart involved, and it's got the whole guy's investment solutions involved. And I saw some crazy pie-in-the-sky figure that you guys think that we need to create 14 million jobs. Had you been out for a big dinner the night before?
And the wine was good.
And the wine was obviously very good.
Bruce, yeah. We actually went live with CSM more like 24 months ago. And we've got multiple projects that we put underway to try and drive change and provoke economic growth, which is our slogan. So, but the issue around job creation, that was conceptualized 6 to 8 months ago, beg your pardon. And we launched it now for Mandela Day.
Can it provoke economic growth?
We've got to do something. I mean, at the end of the day, our position is for the benefit of all South Africans. We need to grow an inclusive economy. We need aggressive growth. We need skills. We need to reduce fraud and corruption. We need to do, all these things we know we need to do, but we need to get on with doing it. So,
fine. But you come out with an attention-grabbing 14 million jobs. How does the first one get created and this virtuous cycle of magical job creation happen? Because if you've got the formula, the Spanish would love it. Half the emerging markets of the world would love it.
Look, I think that everybody can contribute to job creation. So I don't think we're sitting to try and say we've got a silver bullet or anything like that. I myself am an entrepreneur. I know I can create jobs. I know I do. But that's outside of collaborative stakeholder movement. What we're trying to do there is bring together all the good job creating initiatives, all the guys that are doing the right things, pull them together, whether it's business, government, labor, and civil society. We need to embrace civil society. We need to stand together, and we need to address what we feel and our board feels is a national emergency. We feel it's the central theme that we should be focusing on.
There's absolutely no doubt about it. But the only place in the country that's created any jobs over the last 5 years has been the civil service, and that's funded by a diminishing tax base.
Correct, exactly.
So how does the private sector?
So
you talk about things like companies need to retain more people. Companies need to employ more people. I don't know how your company is doing, but the rest of South Africa seems to be struggling to make a profit, never mind keep jobs.
Yeah, unfortunately, it feels like just starting something before the global financial crisis. We just start this, we get this off the ground, and then we've got all these announcements of mass retrenchments and so on. But it's the reality of the situation. So, but we've all known for a long time that big business is not the solution. Government is not the solution. So where does it lie? We pay lip service to small businesses and doing all the right thing, but we're interested in delivery. We're interested in action and delivery. Our little mantra is LCAT, engage. We need to listen to each other. We need to collaborate, and then we need action and delivery. So the 14 million jobs, Bruce, is actually around having some sort of a central barometer, which we're measuring on a regular basis, and we know, are we going in the right direction? Where the job's going to come from, you, me, all of us, okay? We can create jobs, and small businesses are really going to drive those numbers.
But the environment for small business, I mean, we talk about innovation, and you guys are doing this thing called Innovent or something. Innovement. Sorry, it loses something in translation. Innovation by its very nature suggests high impact, low employability. So you've got lots of people creating apps and doing all sorts of clever things, providing opportunities, but are they really helping grow the economy, Lee?
Well, I think it is starting to impact how the economy grows. But to Martin's point, this lack of collaboration is actually impeding that growth. So I would argue that there are plenty of ideas in the township economy, and in fact, in the established economy as well. But the concept of innovement tries to bring these together. So innovement to us is an innovation and a collaborative platform that brings together the governments, the citizens, the academics, all these different stakeholders to drive this uplift. So you may have the best idea, but you may not have the funding, you may not have the IP protection, or just the incubation to take your idea forward. So our idea is that innovement is bringing together these mass VCs, private sector, and the idea generators to create the economic uplift.
Do you think you can even scratch the surface of the problem, though?
I think you can. We did some similar research, similar to what Martin has done across the G20 countries, that included South Africa. We spoke to over 50 local entrepreneurs. The ideas are there and they're plentiful. It's how we support and enable that, how we take away the barricades to actually enabling them to move it forward, having the access to government procurement, having the access around the legal constraints around that, and just the big brother coaching to make this a reality, Bruce.
I burst out laughing listening to our revered president the other day talking about how applying Operation Pakisa across mining. And I thought to myself, hold on a second, we've lost the plot completely. We're in a sunset industry in a declining commodity cycle, and now suddenly we're going to open the doors to people to do business in mining more effectively. I'm not sure if he was looking after Kulubuse or whose interest he was looking after there, but surely Operation Pakisa, which is a government initiative to try and break down the walls and all of the bureaucracy, should be applied across every single sector of society. It should be normal rather than special.
I'd say absolutely. If you look at something called R&D innovation within an organization, in South Africa, it's close to 0.4 to 0.8% versus a global trend in excess of 2%. And what that means is that private sector and companies largely are not spending enough time trying to invent and reinvent themselves. So we have an existing product, we have an existing service, but we aren't looking to be relevant in this highly digital and innovative world. So I guess the key point we're finding in South Africa, which may tie back loosely to this project that our esteemed president talks about, is how do we inject this further back into the organization, say, let's think about your very survival. How do you partner across the physical boundaries to drive your survival?
But our company's too busy surviving, Martin, to actually be innovative. And you're looking at an environment where the currency one week is at 18 to the pound, the next week it's at 21 to the pound, 13 to the dollar just recently. We're working in a chaotic macroeconomic environment, and South Africa is particularly chaotic.
Absolutely, and I think the small businesses one has to feel really, really sympathetic for them, because I mean they're running around with so many regulatory type issues and labour legislation that is abundantly tough, etc. So the whole broader macroeconomic environment is not pro job creation.
So Operation Pakisa should go, you know what, let's remove every barrier for any business with a turnover
that
of
should be
under
the same.
10
If
million
we
rand.
treat it as a national emergency, if we agree it's a national emergency, it either is or it isn't. If we agree that it is, then let's do everything in our place.
You said it's a national emergency, I agree. Do you agree, Lee?
I do agree.
Okay, there are three of us who agree. Does government agree? You say government has come into the collaborative stakeholder movement. Government doesn't agree?
No, they don't agree, because somewhere along the line you have to stop the talk shop and the plans, and you have to actually do. And it's in the doing where things either match your value statement and your words, or they fall off the table. And unfortunately, we tend to fall into the latter.
I'm surprised by that. I mean, Lee, you deal with government a lot.
Yes.
You wear a tie very occasionally, sometimes to come on television and sometimes to go and see government ministers.
Yes.
Is there an acceptance of a national emergency when it comes to unemployment?
I think there is. And in the conversations we've had in the launch to Innovement, several government organizations have come to the party to now move from the
Government
planning...
organizations or ministries?
Government and ministries, so
Okay.
both, right? So both the parastatal as well as large government industries and departments focusing on innovation. What we have seen is what Martin talks about, the move from planning to the move, at least the intent around execution. Now that's clear. I must put a point on the table. These organizations that are too busy with survival, I think are missing a trick. The reality is that you can't do everything by yourself. If we live within these myopic silos within organizations, we're going to struggle. The notion of open innovation and collaborative solving, Martin, is what we need to start doing. And I think government's coming with the right intent, with enabling policy frameworks, but it's the private sector, it's the banking cluster, it's the venture capitalists, it's the township economy all coming together. We've got to start breaking down these walls, Bruce.
No, I couldn't agree more, but at the same time, as somebody who's operated in the trenches of engineering in a South African environment, you know how hard it is. If your cash flows are slow this month, you've got no time to go off to a meeting to go and talk about collaboration. You're trying to figure out what the hell to do to make sure you can pay the salary check at the end of the month.
So we need to nurture, we need to mentor the entrepreneurs and really get them up and running, and the growth entrepreneurs. Access to finance in this country is terribly difficult. You can't walk into a bank and go and borrow money. If you need to go and borrow your exactly. So we've got to point fingers around the spectrum. It's not just about business. It's not just about government. We can't blame it all on organised labour. And we can't blame it, certainly not on civil society. Civil society, of which we are all members at the end of the day, are actually the victims. So how can that civil society stand together and drive
To your
this?
point about government not taking things seriously, another statement by the President, and Peter Bruce wrote a great column in Business Day recently saying, you know what, no, it was Tony Leon, I beg your pardon, Tony Leon saying the markets don't like it when the President has a press conference because he exposes many of the fractures in society. And he was just saying more people are employed in South Africa than ever before since 1994. And he's right, but the percentage of unemployment stays the same. Do we bluff ourselves into some kind of era of self-complacency perhaps?
I guess that on some level there is some smoke and mirrors around the numbers. I guess the reason we're having this conversation...
But if we've got smoke and mirrors around the numbers, then we're not agreeing that it's a national emergency.
I think
because then we're fibbing, we're lying to ourselves because we're lying to an electorate.
Exactly. So
it's exactly our barometer. That's exactly why we're putting this barometer on the table. We need to bring it together. We're challenging all the economists across the country to stand together in a form of a sort of a round table. We have regular interventions in that particular space.
But it's more than just a round table. So I think it's one part to expose the transparency required. It's another thing to enable what you talk about, Bruce, is the inability to access the funding, the banking, the IP and the coaching. So involvement like the other platforms that are there, try to bring this together in a much easier way. So if you did want access to an IP lawyer, patent lawyer, shouldn't it be easier than having to stand in a long line for free services? We could put the idea on the table.
But 90% of people who need to start their businesses, the survivalist businesses, we need to create that first step, are a million miles away from patents. They're a million miles away from markets. They're a million miles away from a corporate reality. These are guys who just need the ability to understand how to price a tomato when you buy it from the market and go and sell it on a payment.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's putting together the IP, the lawyers, the coaching, the business modeling, the business planning, access to funding, how to write a business plan. These are all capabilities that young entrepreneurs need. And I think it's the likes of us in the room and the broader ecosystem of the private sector can actually help enable the agenda to grow that economy 1% or 14 million jobs that Martin talks about. Requires all of us to come together in one way. So the answer is not just patents or it's IP. It's saying whatever you need, what's the platform that makes it available to you?
Are you guys collaborating? This is the collaborative stakeholder movement or citizens stakeholder movement, but you're not in it.
Well, we actually are. We've actually started having conversations about bringing these two together. It's actually a conversation around this job pledge that Martin talks about.
Okay, I'm going to let you guys get together because it's important that if we're collaborative and we're talking about the same thing, we agree about the same issue, that we have a national crisis, then we need to get together and deal with it. Lee Naik is Managing Director of Technology and Digital Strategy for Accenture South Africa. They've got their involvement, correct?
Perfect.
There we go, program. And Martin Humphries, founder of the Collaborative Stakeholder Movement. Is it overly worthy and overly ambitious? Should we not be going, let's just look at 1 million jobs? Maybe the 14 million target is just too big and scary a mountain to climb. Maybe we need to go to the foothills first. But certainly at least people in the private sector are looking for opportunities to make things happen. Till next time, thank you very much for watching The Moneymakers. There'll be more tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.